These days, it's cool to call yourself an entrepreneur, but the real entrepreneurs strive for continuous improvement, innovation, and willing to take risks of detrimental proportions. Join me as we meet the people that make this happen. One by one, they are sharing the story of their journey as an American entrepreneur. For those that want to transform the otherwise dark feel of the exterior of their home and give it a resort-like feel, there's a company called TC Lighting, LLC in Dallas, Texas. The owner, Todd Cormier, and he's been making these transformations for over 40 years. So come join me as he shares his story.
All right, introduce yourself. Tell us about your business.
All right, my name's Todd Cormier. I'm with TC Lighting, LLC, Dallas, Texas. And I'm in the landscape lighting business.
Okay. Well, how did you discover this landscape lighting business? What got you lured into it?
Well, first of all, my father's a landscape architect. I'm from Southwest Louisiana originally, in a little town called Breaux Bridge, Louisiana. And I actually came up to visit him one summer. Anyway, he had a friend that had a landscape lighting company, and I'll go ahead and tell you his name. His name is Doug Greenlee. He's a great guy. And I basically learned the business from him. And I started by just doing installations for him. So, I'd be in a tree, you hanging lights and whatnot. He'd be on the ground and I'm up 40, 50 feet in the tree and learning, what the fixtures do, what kind of angles you need to get the right kind of shadows and stuff. And then also, on the ground and, doing that part of the business too. And then I like the parts of the business where it's not just an aesthetic, it's not just for aesthetics, but it's also for function. And then, and it's also for security, security is always an added bonus to what we do.
I think you said 3 functions, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Aesthetics.
Okay.
And what I call functional lighting or task lighting, like we're sitting out here, and if you look out here, we got pathways lit and that kind of thing. So you can actually walk to see where you're going, right? And then as a bonus, it's always security lighting.
Okay.
So, and the security aspect of it is great because, even police and, the reports that they do will tell you that, the best thing you can have is security. I mean, it's better than a lock on your door, or an alarm system. The idea with landscape lighting from a security aspect is that you change their mindset while they're out on the street before they even get on your property. Just change their mindset. And the truth is, if you've got a house that's pitch dark and you got a property over here that's lit, I can tell you where the burglar's going.
Well, tell us a little bit about the artistic side of this landscaping, because when I was looking on the internet and I reached out to you, I was looking at all these different landscape lighting company pictures on their website, and your lighting really just stood out to me, and I thought, I got to reach out to this guy. This guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
What makes you distinct or different from the way they set up their lights versus how you do your lighting?
Okay. The one distinction that you'll see, I think mainly, and you'll see it in all our photographs, is that it's that moonlight effect that was really started in the 60s in this area. And believe it or not, it's more prevalent in the Dallas Metroplex than anywhere in the world. And in the old day, it was done with mercury vapor lighting, HID, high intensity discharge mercury vapor lighting, which requires a ballast. And you actually have a mercury gas in the lamp that heats up, and it gives you this beautiful moonlight effect. And so I've never deviated from that look all these years because I love it. I just think it makes a calm, relaxing atmosphere at night. And it's also the idea is that we're trying to simulate a moonlight at night. I mean, that's the idea, a brighter moonlight. It also gives us the ability to contrast this moonlight effect with shadows and all that kind of thing that we're trying to create with warm light that bleeds out of the house. Or you might have a gas light that's a warm feature, right? it's those contrasting colors that make the project so interesting. And if you have warm light outside, like you see a lot of times in pics and pictures and, you know, things even around the Metroplex, it's become more prevalent in this area lately. You don't get that contrast. And that's why I love that moonlight, that Mercury look.
Well, that's why yours stood out so well in other websites, because it looked like a lot of them were just putting really bright lights all around the house, and it was just a bunch of lights.
Right.
But yours was very artistic. I even thought, as I looked at the pictures, I thought, are these pictures doctored up a little? But we're doing this interview at one of the places you lit up, and I see that what I'm seeing out here really is those pictures.
And it's not doctored up at
Right.
all, you know. And as a matter of fact, when you get on the site, you know, it's as beautiful on the site as it is on a picture.
Oh yeah.
You know, people can trick up a picture.
Oh yeah, and that's kind of what I was wondering, you know, but I'm out here and I'm seeing some of what you did that's on your website.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing it with my own eyes. It's
Right.
just really beautiful here.
Right.
How do you go about getting more business? What are your marketing efforts?
I mean, to be honest with you, for the most part, because I've been in this business for 35 years and I have developed many, many clients, but most of my business comes from word of mouth. Now, you know, at the same time, I'm constantly trying to develop my business. You know, I just bought some job signs the other day, you know, to put out on the job site. I mean, the idea for me is that, you know, just make myself as visible as possible. Because about 7 years ago, I broke away from another company. And so now I still have many customers and many referrals, but now I got to go, you know, and get going again. You know, I got to build it again.
Right.
You know, and so, yeah, I have a lot of those referrals, but also I do a lot of other things. And no, I guess also I'm kind of a salesman at heart, because I'm constantly, you know, going after new business.
Right.
I mean, it's crazy, but I wake up in the morning thinking about, you know, how I'm going to go after and get something else, you know,
Right.
because when you're, you know, a single entrepreneur, a
One-man
sole
band,
proprietor,
yeah.
I mean, ain't nobody else going to do it for you. You got to go out and get it. And that's what I've done.
Right. I noticed you jumped at the opportunity like that to come share your story.
Yes,
So
sir.
that's a form of marketing, and you recognize that.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, how many employees do you have? How many crews, vans, whatever?
Well, to be honest with you right now, we're just running 1 to 2 crews,
Okay.
you know. But the guys I have, the one guy I have in particular, I trained him about 20 years ago. And he came back with me recently. And this guy, he's as passionate about what he does as I am. And he does beautiful work. And, you know, so it's typically a lead man with a couple of, you know, helpers out there in the field. And but I mean, these guys put in a lot of work. It's amazing how much work these guys really put in.
Well, I would think that this business is somewhat seasonal. Am I correct or am I wrong?
Well, you're wrong.
Good. I'm glad to hear it's year round.
It really is year round.
Really?
As a matter of fact, what might surprise you is that this time of year is slower than it is typically than it is in the winter.
Why do you think that would be? I guess people on vacations, they're traveling.
That's the only thing I've been able to come up with over
So
these
you're-
years. I was
you're-
thinking about it the other day. you
You're
know?
still out there in the winter, super
Oh, absolutely.
cold.
Absolutely.
I guess people get ready for Christmas as well, I guess, huh?
You know, I just think that, the Christmas time and all that kind of things puts people in a good mood. They do want to do Christmas, but I do a lot of landscape lighting projects during that time of year, you know. And it really is true. And spring, you know, people get excited around spring. They want to get their houses ready and looking good.
Well, you do indoor lighting as well, but how much of that do you do?
I actually don't do a whole lot of that.
Okay.
I mean, unless I'm asked to do it, you know. But it's somewhat similar to exterior lighting,
Okay.
you know, in the sense that what makes a project beautiful is you got to know how to hide light sources. I mean, anybody that's watching this video, I'm sure they don't know that we're standing in front of we're sitting in front of some pretty glary
They're pretty damn bright,
lights.
aren't they? Yeah,
They're
it's
real.
nighttime out here.
They're real bright.
And
but
it's only 95 degrees.
yeah, it's only 95 degrees. That's why I keep wiping the sweat off my head. But to be able to appreciate what the lighting's doing, you have to hide those light sources. And that's what makes the project beautiful. You've got to hide those light sources. And so you got to know what kind of fixtures to use, and you got to know, what angles to hang those fixtures at. And that's where the art in this business comes. It's an art form. I mean, it's like the landscape is our canvas, and we take light fixtures and we come out and we create the effect.
And I guess you're looking for all the different levels and stairs and trees, and you just kind of go from there, right?
Yeah, I mean, the landscape pretty much dictates what we're going to do with the lighting. I mean, it's like in this project, you've got these upper levels that we want to light, and in the process of getting these aesthetic shadows on the ground, again, we're wanting it to be functional, where people can walk out here and enjoy themselves. And then this project, and the way I approach a lot of my projects is I like to do like layers of lighting. So this would be our immediate layer here, this functional lighting in here, and it's still beautiful. We got some beautiful shadows and whatnot. And then you step back about 20 feet, and now we're starting to create the backdrop, So now you have another little layer out here. And then if you go up to that edge out about 20 feet and you look out, now we've created another level. So it's like, you just want to, it's such an area of interest. You're creating interest, I think I told you recently, my dad was a landscape architect. And the one thing he always used to say is, he said, man, even in landscape architecture, I hate to see a beeline from the street to the front door. He said, there's nothing interesting about that. But now if you take a pathway and you jog it, and you maybe place a tree where you've got to go around that tree, now it creates some, a little bit of element of surprise, and you get around the tree. Oh, now we see something else that's interesting. You know what I mean? It's similar with lighting. You create different aspects in the project that are interesting aspects of the project.
Well, how do you go about putting together a bid? I mean, do you go out and take a lot of pictures and measurements, and do you use a design software? How do you present it to them so they know what they're going to get?
Yeah, to be honest with you, it's really old-fashioned. It's many years of looking at lighting projects at night, because we do at night what's called a night set, where we'll go out, I'll get my guys back up the trees if necessary, and we'll fine tune the project, and we'll move things around, lift them up and down. But in answer to your question, I mean, it's very simple. I take a notepad, I go out on the project, I sketch out what I want to do, and then I bring it back in the office and just sit there, and I enjoy just designing. It's very relaxing for me. And I'll put a plan out, and I sit there and I design it, and I love it. It just, the creativity aspect of it. And then I take the plan, and now we have a beautiful plan, and we bring it to the customer, and we present it like that.
How long does it take usually to do an average job? And what's the average cost of a nice, big, nice, elegant job? I guess it just all depends on how many layers and how many trees they want.
A project can run anywhere from $1,000 to whatever, $500,000.
Really?
Yeah, residential. Whatever. I mean, it really, it's dictated by what we're trying to do. I mean, basically, how many fixtures it's going to take to do the job, how much conduit it's going to take, how much electrical we got to put in the ground, and that kind of thing. Yeah.
So do you do the electrical yourself?
We do a lot of it, but we also sub out to electrical contractors.
The bigger parts or the bigger pieces of it?
Yeah.
Well, what are some things that you've learned now over the years that you wish you knew when you first got started?
Some things that I wish I knew
when you first got started that you know now. in this business, or just this business in general?
I don't know. I have to. I guess I caught off guard because I guess I never thought of that.
Well, yeah,
what I've
I'll tell you what. Then what,
It's not like
what were
I
you not
surely
doing? What were you not doing very well that you're doing really well now? Maybe that's just something you learned that you caught on and go, wait a minute.
Okay, well, I can just say I'm very comfortable with being able to communicate what I do as an art form. And I think that's just a process that just comes by doing something and being passionate about it and loving it. I think I'm able to explain without any pictures even what we do, what we do, and for someone to understand that. And I think the reason is because I have such a good understanding of what we're doing.
I guess the lighting too, everything has gone to LED, right?
Yeah,
I guess.
exactly.
Is it a lot more energy efficient? And
It absolutely
brighter
is.
and-
It absolutely is. Now, LED is a game changer. For instance, I did a project out in South Texas, South Texas, Streetman, Texas. And this project has literally about a mile of conduit that we put in the ground. And it has about 200 fixtures in it. Now, in the old day, it would have required a 100-watt mercury vapor fixture, right? So you would have had 200 fixtures at 100 watts, 20,000 watts. Now, with the advent of LED, I can get the same candle power and the same coverage out of a 10-watt lamp. So on this particular project, in the old day, it would have taken 20,000 watts. It would probably required about 5 20-amp circuits to do the work. Now, we did the whole project with one 20-amp circuit.
Really?
And we're not even loading it up all the way. The capacity is about 80% of a 20-amp breaker. We're at somewhere around 16 amps.
Well, if somebody wanted to start a landscape lighting business, what are some pieces of advice you'd give them?
So you want me to give my competitors advice?
Well, the thing
I'm
is,
messing with you.
yeah, it's really funny. I've asked people that question. They look at that, and I'm thinking, you know what?
Yeah. I don't want to give them any advice.
If you don't want
No,
to
I'm
give any
messing
advice,
with you.
Okay, that's fine. I've actually had people not want to give any advice at all. I'm
But
thinking,
I can give you some advice as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's what we want to hear. It's what,
As
what's this
someone
about?
trying to make a go at it. For all the years I was in the landscape lighting business, I went into an office. And now, since I'm scaled way down because I have my own business, I broke away from another company that I was involved in. And this is pretty important. I found this to be real important. When you get up and you get out of bed, and I'm working, my office is out of my house. But I can't play around in the house like I don't have a business to run. So I get up in the morning, just like I was going to work all these years. I get myself ready. I put my shirt on that has my logo on it. I got about five of them in all different colors. And I act like I'm doing business. And you got to have that mindset. If you're an entrepreneur and you want to be successful, especially as a small company, you got to make like, hey, we're going to do business today. And you can't sit around the house and get distracted by this or that. No, you got to go for it, man. And that is the one thing that I would say has been invaluable to me. Because when I get up in the morning, it's time to go to work. And I go out and I put my heart into it every day. Whether I'm trying to get new business, whether I'm out in the field, whether I'm getting fixtures, where I'm meeting my guys, whether I'm designing something or whatever, it's time to work. And I actually don't know. I always used to wonder how people could be successful out of their homes, But now, today we live in an age where everybody's doing things from the computer and whatnot.
Yeah, right.
But still, you got to have the right mindset, I think. You've got to have that right mindset that you're going out to make this thing work,
Would you have a lot of people? I would think you probably do, inevitably. They call you and maybe 2 other companies.
Yeah.
They want to see okay, I've got 3 people coming out. Let's see what they can do. I mean,
Sure.
you have a lot of that, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, I mean, the truth
That's
is,
part of it,
I don't
I
hear
guess.
much about it though.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, I think most people, once I meet them, if they like me, and you and I were talking about this earlier,
Right.
it's a relationship, with customers.
Mhm.
If they got a good feel for you, and they know and they sense that you're an honest guy with integrity, and if they've done a little of their homework and they've looked at your resume and they've gone on your website and they've seen your work. But I tell you what's even more important to me is that I've got about 20 or 30 testimonials that I'm very proud of. And these people aren't just talking about the aesthetics of the project. They're talking about, well,
About
he
you
said,
as a person, because I read some of it.
right. And it's like he said he was going to be here at a certain time, and he did that. He said he was going to give me this effect, and he did it. In the afternoons, his guys, my place was as clean in the morning as when they started.
Really, you do that? You clean it up?
Absolutely.
How
And
long
I'm
is it?
very.
You're there about probably what, 4 or 5 days? How long are you?
I mean, some projects can run a month.
Depending on how big they are, right?
Yeah, but my guys, every day, man, we're gonna clean up. We're gonna make that place look good. Because I'm sure you know this. You've been around construction. I mean, I've been on sites, man, where it's just, they're building a house or whatever, and there's just stuff everywhere. I personally, I can't accept that, because to me, it gives the wrong mindset, even for your people. Because if your people are out there doing that job, and they see that you have a messy, dirty site, in their head, they're thinking, well, he doesn't really care that much about the quality of his work. And I tell you, man, that's a big pet peeve for me, really. Is what kind of image are you portraying, not only for yourself, but for your people that work for you?
So tell us about when you first started your own business, when you went from working for somebody else to starting your own business. Tell us about that transition.
I built a business with a couple other guys. And then about 7 years ago, I split away from those guys that I was with. So, I started making phone calls, and I was getting the door shut in my face. So I called a landscape architect friend that I know, one phone call, and I said, I want to do landscape lighting. Anybody maybe I could work with or whatever. And he threw a name out at me, and I went and had an interview with those guys, and they hired me on the spot, man. And it was LED retrofit lighting, and also a business that would equip like whole apartment complexes with the whole package.
Now, they hired you as an employee.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if you started your own business yet.
Right.
As an employee, okay.
Yeah. But as I was with those guys, they knew I was in the landscape lighting business. And so as I began to go up, and I climbed the ladder with those guys year by year. And then at one point, about a year and a half, 2 years into that, we started our own little landscape lighting division in there. And then one of the principals of the company said, why don't you just, he even suggested it, why don't you just open your own landscape lighting business again? So that's fantastic. So I did it. And then at a point, then I left those guys, and then that's when I really went full-fledged back into the landscape lighting business.
So that was about 7 years ago?
About 7 years. About 6 years ago, 7 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. And then so when you started your own business, did you reach out to some of these old clients you guys had before, or that you had before when you was with your partners?
Yeah, because I still had contacts
Relationships with
a lot of
other
people.
guys.
Like actually the fellow we're sitting at his home today.
Right.
I reached out to him. And, it was just one thing after another. One job led to another, And the thing just began to grow. And believe it or not, since I got back in it, I've done more than 100 projects.
So are you planning on ever opening up other locations, or you pretty much like it all just the way it is?
I think if necessary, I may get a couple of more crews. But to be honest with you, I can control things better when I'm actually a little smaller. Now I know that may not be what some people think is, because every company you see these days, they always just want to mushroom into.
Right. Well, some businesses
some great
can,
thing,
and some businesses it's really hard to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a very specialty type business.
It is, and I can control things very well.
Well, as far as having partners in a business, but what are some things or some advice you can share with people about going into business with partners?
Well, I mean, when you have partners, you have varying opinions about how things should be done, and that was always, an issue. In business, I've worn a lot of different hats. I was head of the collections. At the same time, I like advertising, actually. I like creating ads and things like that. I would do that kind of thing for the company, but sometimes you feel like, well, that's a great idea to do this advertisement or that advertisement, and then you take it to your partners and they just shoot it down, Well, when you work for yourself, you don't have to do that anymore.
I always tell people too, though, that sometimes you can't start a business on your own. Sometimes you need that one or two partners.
Yeah.
And when you look back at what you built, when the partners go their own way, you would never have had that success if you would have tried to do it alone.
That's
so
right.
Sometimes you build it together, then you could branch off, and then you've got something. What's some of the pieces of advice you could share with someone that loses their business for whatever reason, whether it be bankruptcy or lawsuits or partners? What's some advice you could give to someone? I always tell people, don't be afraid to fail in a business, whatever that failure is.
Right.
But what's some advice you could give to them?
Well, like I said, I mean, you had asked me before, what do you think one of the main things I had learned about business? And at the time when you asked me, you caught me off guard and I didn't really have an answer. But as I thought about it, I think perseverance, in a word, perseverance, because that's what it took. I mean, and we've all heard so many stories about people who have had tremendous businesses, and they just persevered. And that's why eventually they just became successful.
Right.
I mean, what is it? The Kentucky Fried Chicken and these different businesses.
That was
you hear all these stories, great stories about these guys, and they just when they failed, they just got back up again and they kept going, and that's what I had to do, man. I mean, it was the only way.
How did you come up with the name of your business, TC Lighting LLC?
Okay, so TC is my initials, Todd Cormier. Actually, we have, our vans, we've wrapped them with pictures, and it's beautiful. It came out beautifully. And on the back of the van, I actually signed my name like an artist signs his painting, because that's always the way I've seen this business. This business is an art form. And we take a beautiful canvas, whatever the house or whatever the layout provides for us, the trees, the landscape, and our instruments that we use are not paints and paintbrushes, but they're lights and light sources. And we take that canvas and we create a piece of artwork. And as you can see, you look here, and this is a beautiful piece of artwork.
Oh yeah, it all works well. Everything works together.
Exactly. And again, I've said this before. We love the contrasting colors, the warm light, the warm pathway lights, contrasting with this unbelievably blue water. It looks like glass. But then we have our backdrop back here, which is the moonlight effect. We've even got fixtures behind the wall, because what we wanted to do was uplight the canopies of the trees to give this floating feeling, like you just sit kind of floating in the trees, And so you can see that's what we're going for. It came out beautiful.
So where do you see your business 5, 6, 7 years from now?
I see it size wise. I'm trying to double the amount of work that we're doing. Um, I guess that's pretty much it. I mean, I want to grow, but to be honest with you,
You don't want to be a giant business either,
Yeah.
as you said earlier.
yeah, you know what I figured out when we had our company with these other guys. At one point, we had like 7 vehicles running. Right, that's a lot, just doing nothing but landscape lighting. But you know what? I mean, Curtis,
It's a lot more complicated.
man, you gotta keep those trucks on the road. You got insurances on trucks. At one point, we had 35 employees, and to be quite honest with you, what it ends up when you're a smaller business, man, you're a lot of your sales and a lot of your profit is going to pay for overhead.
Right.
It's going to pay for insurances for vehicles and things, and so it's really tough, as a smaller business because. And it just kind of, sometimes it beats you down because you're making these profits that are going to do nothing but paying this overhead and stuff.
You had, I
You
guess,
know.
a big office, employees.
Yeah, we had an
Did
office.
you have any accountants full time?
No, but we
Okay.
had all the professional people, that we would source out. But it's just when you have a bit, again, 35 employees, you got a big payroll every week and all that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm enjoying the size of my company right now. And I want to get a little bigger, but to be honest with you, I don't think I want to get super big. And again, I can control the product better. I mean, I can stay every one of my projects, man. I'm totally involved in it. I'm out here on the site, looking at these jobs daily to make sure that it goes in exactly the way that I want it to go in.
What do you look for in employees when you hire your installers? What are some things that you look for?
Okay. Guys that are very conscientious about their work. For instance, I got a crew with a guy, and I'm going to mention his name because he's an awesome guy. His name is Augustine. And this guy, he takes so much pride in his work. I mean, at the end of each day, also, he cleans up the whole site, man. There is no paper laying around. There's no open ditches if ditches need to be covered or anything like that. And customers appreciate that. I truly believe that because I think I've said it before. I mean, I've been on construction sites where there's just trash everywhere. And I always get the feeling, man, it's like, that shouldn't be like that. I mean, it just, for one, again, it gives your employees a bad mindset. It's like, well, this guy doesn't care if it's trashy or whatever, and it gives them that same mindset when they're doing their work.
When you see a lot of landscape lighting, it's just this one solid white color, bright light wrapping all around the house, and there's no contrast. It just looks boring. But you really sculpt out the light, use different what do you call it? Different light temperatures from warm to cool.
Yep.
And contrast them.
Yeah.
And I guess just learning that art.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because there are some tremendous large projects even in the Dallas area, and they're what I call one note. Okay, the light inside the house is warm, and every source outside is warm. Well, sitting here, what's making this project so beautiful is it's all the contrasting colors. It's all the warm, even these candles, it's a warm glow. It's contrasted by a vibrant blue background. And then behind that, we have the moonlight effect. And then in here, we've got some fire torches. And then now we've used this beautiful pathway light also that in itself, it's kind of like, it's architecturally, it's beautiful during the day. But it's also beautiful at night because the way that fixture just kind of lights the stem on both sides and it gives this warm look to it. And all of those contrasting colors is what makes this project what it is. The other thing is when we've got just this tremendous amount of lights, man, it's way too commercial for a residential, and I just see that and And a lot of times they're not hiding the light sources properly. In the landscape lighting business, I've said this 1,000 times. During the day, we don't want you to see the hardware. I don't want you to see junction boxes and things like that. Yeah, and wires. Matter of fact, we go behind the tree. We take a look at what is the place where you're going to be walking the most and looking at the tree. And wherever that place is, that box is going to go on the opposite side of that, right? So during the day, we're hiding light sources. We're hiding products. I don't want you to know you have lighting until it comes on at night. Right. I don't want you to see a bunch of hardware and stuff. And even the cord from the base of the tree, like up 8 feet or so, we paint it.
Same color as a tree.
Same color as a tree. And then at night, the idea is that we just want to appreciate what the lighting's doing. But if I'm being blinded by the light source, then I can't appreciate what the lighting's doing. And that is really the art behind good landscape lighting, you know. And there's a lot of things we look for too, like the way we're going to create shadows and that kind of thing.
Did you do the gas light, the torch?
No, sir.
Okay.
Somebody else did that.
Well, Todd, I really appreciate you coming on, sharing your story, and thanks a lot, man.
You're welcome.
I think the biggest takeaway Todd shared with us is the fact that every morning he gets up, getting dressed, and ready to conduct business. He doesn't get distracted. And he knows nobody's going to do it for you. You got to make it happen. I hope this video added value. I'm Curtis Mulberg. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.